Hello again everybody. A little while ago I made a couple of videos in response to comments from people who regard British bikes as crap, and so described why I don't personally agree with that. And I thought I'd sort of make a follow-up to that, because I've had some interesting times with the BSA Thunderbolt you see behind me, and I'm going to discuss a few things that have gone on with it in recent times which could quite easily have led me to describe it as being a crap bike. But when we look into the events and failures in a little more depth, we can see that actually it's not the fault of the bike or the design of the bike or the make of the bike. It wasn't at any time, or isn't, BSA's fault, any of what's happened here. But let's see if I can sort of cast my mind back and go over a few things, including the latest, which actually happened today. Now, I'm sure quite a number of my viewers will probably be familiar with this BSA 650 Thunderbolt, sorry, 650 Thunderbolt, which I've owned for a few years now, and I've had some trials and tribulations with it along the way. One of them was when I got home after one spirited ride, which I didn't actually record, if I remember. It was when I was trying to deal with the misfire, which we'll come to in a moment. But when I got home, the horn had gone and there was just a pair of wires hanging there and a broken bracket. Oh well, that'll be the harsh vibration from the BSA twins. They're notorious for it. Well, true, the bike vibrates a bit, but to my mind it was more down to the flimsy Christmas cracker toy-like metal used in the bracket of the horn, which parted company with the bike. I don't know where that horn might have originated from, but it wasn't on this bike. When the bike left the BSA factory, I'd stick my life on that. So, not the bike's fault. What else have we had? I think I was actually filming a ride, which can probably be seen among my YouTube videos of this one. One time I've done quite a few runs on it over to visit my parents in recent times, and we had an incident near Firevark where the headlamp suddenly shot out and bounced into the road and unfortunately broke the glass. I managed to find a replacement when I got home. I cobbled it back together while I was riding over towards my parents that day and got to see them and got home again, minus a lot of glass here of course. That actually turned out to be down to me not tightening that screw tight enough there. Now this one's been on it for a while since, and I've ridden the bike on several occasions and quite spiritedly here and there as well, and it stayed put. So I can only really say that that must have been my fault and not the BSA's fault. So so far that's 2 out of 2. What else have we had? Well, we've had misfiring, lots of misfiring on this one. In fact, so severe at one time, this machine actually left me stranded. I had to push it up a steep hill on a baking hot day, hide it and get a friend to help me out. We came back with some tools first of all, but there was no way I could get it going, and then a friend came with his trailer and we got the machine home. Guess what that turned out to be? It was a fried Payson ignition. Now there wasn't anything heard of such as a Payson or even a Boyer or anything else electronic ignition when this machine was built, so I retrofitted it with a point setup. It hasn't been a problem since. The misfiring reappeared, and that turned out to be a slight oil leak across a head gasket, which I managed to put right, and it hasn't been a problem since. So the failed ignition and the push uphill on a baking hot day, was that BSA's fault? No, it was the Payson going pop. And the head gasket, well, that was just one of those things. I'm sure this engine's been rebuilt one or more times since BSA built it. I'd almost put money on that. So whoever fitted the head gasket didn't get it quite right. Maybe they didn't anneal it or whatever, but I annealed it. put it back on, it's been fine since. Moving on, what else have we had? Let's see. Oh yes, I wasn't filming the ride when this happened, but a couple of weeks ago when I was riding over to visit my parents with my wife on the back, I came to a crossroads, pulled the clutch in, and the clutch cable snapped right at the nipple there. I thought the cable had pulled out at the nipple, but it hadn't. It actually broke at the back of the nipple. Was that the BSA's fault? I very much doubt that this cable, because it's the same cable, I repaired it when I got home. I rode it carefully, crashing the gears actually and paddling it off to get it moving a little bit before knocking it into first gear with my wife on the back. We made the round trip and got home. I soldered another nipple on the end of the cable when we got back, and everything seems alright. Now that click incidentally is something that a BSA can do now and again, and that's more down to the operating mechanism in there. The three spherical ramps and the balls are a little bit out of step. I'll have to get that sorted, but basically the mechanism is set up there with a little bit too much travel taken up already on the ball ramps, but it's working. Clutch is very light, I can even pull it in with one finger, look. So was that BSA's fault? No, I think that was a shoddy cable actually. Another thing, and we're going to see that again in a moment, but I already, a couple of years ago I think, I changed the fork gaiters because they were splitting terribly. Unfortunately, I'm going to be doing that again because I made a round trip with my wife on the back today, going to see my parents, a 35-mile round trip, and I thought, finally, you know what, we've made this trip with no drama at all, everything's kept going, it's running just as fine when we got back as it was when we set out. But I got off the bike and set about parking it up and I saw this, so not quite trouble free. Is that BSA's fault? No, I think it's shonky rubber actually. So all in all, a lot of the things that have happened to this machine since I've had it have been very irritating and, dare I say, even possibly off-putting. It would be quite easy to say after a couple of these things happened, this is an awful bike, I'm going to get rid of this. But when you sit down and think about it, were any of these things the bike's fault? Really? I would have to probably say no. I think that it's been let down by shoddy components, misfortune and forgetfulness on my part. One other thing that it did, again, I don't think I can blame the bike, was early on when I had it, I was riding it one day, rather ironically over to my parents again, a lovely sunny day, and my left leg started feeling cold and wet, and that was because a fuel pipe had split. Now again, I don't think we could say, oh, that's because the BSA A65 is a crap bike, but all these little things have happened, and in the cold light of day when I sit down and think about them, I can't really lay one of these little things that has happened at the door of BSA, or this bike in particular. I can't say, in spite of all that, that this is a bad bike. So what is a bad bike, really? Lots of them. There are bad bikes around, and I would reckon lots of them are bad bikes because of the way they've been treated over the years by owners and keepers and riders, whatever you want to call them, rather than them being bad bikes when they came out the factory door. And little bit by little bit, I've managed to iron out quite a few bugs on this machine, none of which would have been on it when it left the factory.